Hi. Today I feel inspired by something really important for our times. And I come from a background of having learned a wonderful technique called voice dialogue a long time ago. And in this technique, you actually work with opposite energies, with polarities. You strong, weak, parent, child, all these kind of, and anything has its own nature, and somehow, if you really look for it, you find the polar opposite. And in that technique, you learn to sweat, to be in the middle, to sweat between opposites, to feel one side and to feel the other side, and to be in the middle. And this middle ground creates what they call an aware ego, an awareness that can include both sides. We are now in a time where everything is polarized. You have the social medias that feed you everything that you like, that you are connected with, in terms of, if it's the intention of keeping you there. And in doing that, they will feed you nothing new. They will feed you just your side of things. So, if you look at politics, nowadays, in most countries, you have also two sides. One side gets the power, and all they do during the time they have the power is to fight the other side and make sure they don't win the next elections. And nothing really important gets done. And then the other side gets to win the election, and then the same stupid cycle happens again, instead of something new. And something new, the important word is inclusivity. Inclusivity. It's not either or, it's both and. So human society seems to be amazingly polarized in all sorts of ways. The way we view life religiously, you have all these enemies. Christianity is the enemy of Islam, and Islam is the enemy of Christianity, and Judaism is somewhere in the middle, and Eastern religions, there are something entirely different that have their own, maybe not so strong polarities. Nowadays, everything is available. If you want to know something, you just go on the internet. And not only the internet, on the internet you have YouTube, you have Facebook, you have Instagram, you have TikTok, all these social medias that feed you anything you like to be fed with. You have any interest, you go there and you find tons and tons and tons of stuff, just nurturing and feeding your what you are, not questioning it, but feeding it. So you find everything and its opposite. That's what you find there. So nowadays you have also the polarity between so-called democracies and dictatorship. You have the Chinese system that is, looks very dictatorship to me. And of course, this scarecrow we have here in the West is this Putin. That is, in our eyes, definitely a dictator. And we have our democracies that have their own problems. They're where we have to discuss endlessly and never get anything done in a reasonable time, because we need to talk, we need to agree, and because there are so many divergent opinions, it takes a long time, which is a good process, but it has its a disadvantage. We also seen these amazing polarities during the COVID times. You had these fearmongers that told us if we didn't take vaccines 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times, we might die. And people who believed that, and maybe it was in good faith, and maybe they believed the science that was behind it. And you have the other side that was completely on the opposite side of it, that was questioning the motivation behind the companies making these vaccines and all the money making that was behind it, and were questioning if these things were not being really dangerous because they were not fully tested. So you had a huge polarity and a huge rift in society that nowadays not many people talk about it because it was so painful and it was such a difficult time. It was a difficult time in itself, but it was very much difficult because of the polarization that we have experienced in our society. So how can we go from here? So how can we go out of these permanent states of polarizations? And, most people have strong opinions about life, about how things should be. And they also have strong opinions about people who do it very differently. And that creates conflict. This is you can't prevent that to happen. If there is such a polarization, you have a conflict. If there are problems, I don't know. Sometimes, if you have a country where suddenly there is no more water, what do? There you need water. You need to unite around that problem and solve it. And when we are faced to a very challenging problem, when we are really cornered, we are forced to unite. We are forced to find our common ground and, unite our efforts and solve it. So the way out of it is also stop thinking that your view of life is the only valid one. And in a way, there might be many very funny ways of looking at life that are not at all, you don't at all agree, or you find, plain stupid. But on the other hand, what's the problem? You can let them be. If you are so superior, you can just think, okay, I do my thing, and maybe you say it in a superior way. Maybe they will come to realize that my view is the best. Actually, that's also stupid, but it's better than taking arms and shooting on the other guys. So one of the ways is respect. And is to respect a different view. And maybe if a view is shocking, there's a way of thinking, wow, interesting point of view. Yeah, it is an interesting point of view because it's not yours. And when you're so identified of being you, that's the problem. Then you are really fixed, even in yourself. You don't move. You have a fixed view of yourself that in itself creates a very rigid and fixed view of life and the world. And and it creates polarity. You cannot prevent that that other people somewhere will have taken the other side. Maybe just because they are on the other side of the river, and because it looks very different on that other side of the river. That's why they life has brought them to view life from that side of the river. So I think that a big challenge of our time, and maybe a big opportunity to evolve, is to realize this amazing polarization and come to realize and understand that the way forward is to step out of these rigid polarities and to ponder upon the concept of inclusivity. Inclusivity means that everything is included. Even our universe, if you talk about, with quantum physicists, and they talk about some kind of that the universe is contained in every particle composing that universe. It is holographic. Everything is contained in everything, meaning all the opposite energies are also contained in something that contains both sides. So thinking out of your little box and losing the habit, like there was a very interesting book long years ago by somebody who is very active on the internet, is Joe Dispenza. He wrote a book called Losing the Habit of Being Yourself. It's like when you're yourself, completely identified with your opinions, with your world, the world, your side of the river, your country, your everything. And of course you will have difficulties to understand somebody who is different. I mean, that's very human. And we were, all our human history, evolution, contains that kind of path of identification, of establishing your ground. And when you establish your ground, you defend it. I mean, that's how things become safe. And if somebody else that looks very different, has different traditions, that has different ways of doing things, comes, of course, you feel threatened. But that's a time of humanity, let's say, of teenage time or childhood. I don't know if we already moved into teenage time, but the challenges are so big nowadays that we need to grow up, and grow up means being open, being tolerant, and a very important other key, being loving, not being so much in the head, but looking at life from the energy of the heart. And the heart is not exclusive, the heart is inclusive. As soon as you go into your heart, you will feel that both sides of an equation are okay. Both sides of an equation are part of the equation. You cannot leave one out because it doesn't make any more sense. It's part. I mean, you have everything you have is a polarity. You have wars. In the wars you have perpetrators. You have people who kill. You are violence, and you have victims. But in some ways, they're also part of the same equation in a very mysterious way. But they are. So in that way, what I'm saying, and I hope it made sense somehow, is that nowadays it's important to step out of that one-sided equation. That's just one part. Like in the United States right now, in a few days there will be the election of Trump versus Kamala Harris, and I mean, it's such an amazing polarity in the United States. They are just like 50-50, and whoever wins will combat the other and will question the result. So we're not out of out of the woods there, and it's very interesting. And in my humble opinion, it actually doesn't really matter, because there will be a president for 4 years, and nothing really will get done, because they are so polarized. They are so focused on defending their own ground. So, okay, we'll see, and good luck with everything.